Welcome into Post Game Live, brought to you by New England Ford Dealers. Patriots lose this one 33-26 against the Vikings inside of U.S. Bank Stadium. And New England now with a 6-5 record. Michael, Holley, Tommy, Curran, Ted Johnson, Amina Smith here with you in a battle between the Patriots and the Vikings in this matchup. I will say the offense, they overachieved a little bit for me, only because I did not think they would score that much in this game. But Michael, Holley, what did you see in this matchup? What type of team are we watching here with the Patriots?
I'm going to push back against the overachievement. The only reason you think they overachieved is because you thought they were what they appeared to be against the Colts and the Jets. They're not that. I thought Minnesota, coming into the game, Minnesota, great opportunities for you to get yourself right on offense, and the Patriots did that. But Tommy Curran, Jim Collins, an author, wrote a book a while ago called From Good to Great. And sometimes the difference between good and great is paying attention to the details, and the Patriots are really going to just kick themselves and smack themselves all week long, thinking about the opportunities that they squandered by being sloppy with the details. And to me, that's the story of this game.
It is, and it's hard to call this Moral Victory Thursday, Moral Victory Thanksgiving. I feel better about the team than I did at the beginning of the night because the signs of life offensively and the protection that Mac Jones was afforded by a patchwork offensive line allowed him to actually approach 400 yards. So at least you're not worrying about your quarterback the way you were 3 weeks ago. But, Michael, I wish it was an aberration. The Patriots with negative offensive plays and penalties, they have had 75 penalties and negative offensive plays. That's just negative offensive plays in the past 3 weeks combined with the last 6 games worth of penalties. So a lot to like, Ted, but it's still, there's so much to clean up.
Yeah, and my guess is, Tom, that those negative plays, probably by far the most in the Belichick era. I mean, you just never see this many negative plays. But as good as the offense looked at times, I mean, there were times when they got the ball after a big kickoff return, could only go 4 plays and then kick a field goal. After a big interception by Jonathan Jones, they go 3 and out. They're able to kick a field goal. So the red zone, issue will persist. But at least the offense looked more functional. I mean, they had time to throw. Mac just made some nice throws today. But I think the bigger story, guys, is the defense, because a lot of people thought this was an elite defense, and you look at this defense and the numbers, and it says this is an elite defense, but they hadn't played really a good quarterback or a real number 1 wide receiver in a while. They did that tonight, you guys, and they did not answer the bell. Yeah. They had Justin Jefferson double teamed the entire night, triple teamed, and he still beat him for touchdowns.
But even beyond that, okay, let's say, and you're right. They didn't do well against Kirk Cousins. They didn't do well against Justin Jefferson when it really mattered. But think about this. Not 1, but 2 face mask penalties from Jonathan Jones. What are you thinking? Running into the kicker on 4th down. Yeah. You're getting off the field there. Giving up a long kickoff return. A poor punt there at the end. They had so many mistakes. You say, what are you doing? And so I think even with Justin Jefferson struggling there, Tom, I think they could have overcome that if they had just cleaned up their own house.
You're exactly right, and then you can lament the other things too, Amina. The overturned touchdown, the negative plays. There's so much, if you're a Patriots fan, to lament. But when you go into this game wondering who they are and come out of it understanding that they allowed 26, they played them to a standstill offensively, take out the kickoff return, and that these are controllable things. Yeah. So whether it's a good team, a team with a good record but has flaws, I still feel better about them because I saw signs of life.
Yeah, there were a lot of mistakes made in this game by the Patriots, but let's bring in Matt Cassel right now. And Matt, how did the Patriots lose this game in terms of the details and those mistakes?
It was the details of this game, and this is going to be a tough one to go in and evaluate tomorrow. When you sit down in that Monday morning meeting and you have to evaluate the film and go through it, and you look at all the mistakes, and Holley, Curran, Ted, you just all alluded to everything that you just talked about, which is penalties, right, that extend the drive, the running into kicker, the kickoff return, the bad special teams play, all those things, because defensively they played really well against the run, but they couldn't stop Justin Jefferson. But at the end of the day, it was the personal foul penalties that extended drives and allowed them to go down and score the go-ahead touchdown. For the offense, they were able to move the ball. There was a lot to build off of, but at the end of the day, they couldn't get it done in crunch time. Mac Jones, I know, was looking at that Hunter Henry throw row and saying, gosh, if he just held on to that ball. But really, it's about ball placement in that situation. So it is minute details that's going to get this team over the hump. And right now, they're just not there.
There seemed to be a lot of frustration with the special teams running into the kicker, just like you mentioned, Matt, the kickoff return for a touchdown. Ted, you've obviously been inside of this Patriots locker room. What is that conversation going to be like with Bill Belichick when he sits down with that special teams unit at some point?
My guess is this was the kind of special teams game where you go to, you do it in a team meeting. You have a special teams meeting just in the team meeting, not just the special teamers, but probably the entire team. And maybe the day after you get back from this trip, and you put that little red laser. Matthew Cassel knows exactly what I'm talking about. And in the team meeting, that first meeting when you come back after a game like that, my guess is, Amina, that those kind of things will be addressed for the entire team to make an example of for everyone to learn from.
You know, they've had such global problems on this team in terms of red zone, just getting drives going into third and then advancing on third down and sustaining drives, the penalties. I wonder if a lot of this is attached to the fact that they've had bigger issues than the details. When we look at the half closing drive, where they have twice they fail to get out of bounds or stop the clock effectively, and you give up an opportunity for shots at the end zone. You know, the kickoff return, the 3rd and 7 after a 3rd and 12 jump, and you give up a 37-yard catch. All of those little things, I wonder if this Patriots team is behind the 8 ball a little bit, Mike, in terms of, I'm not making excuses, but they are so far behind on so many things that they're not on this advanced stuff yet.
Right.
It shouldn't be advanced.
It's a good point. Hey, no, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Matt, because I was
just going to say this. Like Hunter Henry should know, it's a 2-minute drill. This guy is a veteran guy. He's been in the league for a long period of time. 2-minute drill, look, you got to get out of bounds. Mac Jones should know the situation too. Instead of scrambling up and sliding for just a sack, basically, and have to take a timeout in that situation, he should know, I've got to throw that ball away. Regardless of whether or not he's a second-year player or he's a 10-year player, you've been playing the quarterback position long enough to understand situational football. Right there, that is fundamentally something that we talk about from day one in 2-minute drill. Hunter Henry has to understand the situation. So it's everybody collectively needing to step up in these situations that will make this group better.
Isn't the real-time activity so much different than the training camp or practice 2-minute stuff that you do? The decision-making on the fly, again, coming from,
right. I mean, you get into the heat of the battle, and yes, sometimes, just instincts take over. You're trying to make a play. You're trying to extend the play, get an extra few yards. But at the end of the day, you're training in everything that you've gone through in training camp and everything else, and whether it's 2-minute drill in camp or in preseason, those things are ingrained in your mind. And so for players at the quarterback position in particular, for a veteran guy like Hunter Henry not to get out in that situation, that's inexcusable. And that'll be something, once again, as Ted just said, they're going to get the red laser and say, what are we doing here? Like, that's not something that goes back to coaching. That is just something that as a player, you can't have those mental lapses in that type of game.
It's true, guys. I don't think the Patriots have been in this position that much this year, right? Where they're trying to win the game. They're coming back from behind. Right. They got to make smart decisions in the late game. I mean, they're playing usually teams that, just melt all over themselves. And so the Patriots haven't been in a lot of these kind of crunch time situations at the end of games to execute, like we're all saying, better. Because it's been a situation that they've seemed to avoid this year.
Simply put, they're overmatched in situational football, which is an uncommon place for them to be.
That is a shocker.
If they are overmatched in situational football, why can't we lean a little bit on the coaching? Because we've always given them credit for being well coached. Yeah. They know the situation, and they usually execute. If we're talking about all the penalties, and it is stunning. What'd you say? It was over the last 6 weeks?
40 in the last 6 weeks.
Including tonight. Let's tack on some more tonight. If you're talking about penalties, if you're talking about 2 years in a row on special teams being brutal, because tonight just running into the kicker is not the issue. Running into the kicker, the kickoff return, think about the season that Jake Bailey was having before he was replaced. So last year they had some issues on special teams with getting punts blocked. So when Ted Johnson played, those guys like PhDs in football would say, if you make a mistake more than once, they'd say you're an error repeater. This guy's an error repeater. We can't trust him. Get off the field. Well, maybe some of the coaches are error repeaters as well. We focus so much on the offensive coaches. Special teams is a problem.
But they won a game. See, here's the
problem.
They won a game last week on a punt return.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was saying special teams has not been the problem for this team this year.
It has.
But however, it's been collectively one unit to the next in any given game that they have not been able to step up and rise to the challenge. And today, the special teams was the issue, but the special teams has been a strong point of this team. The defensive unit has been a been a strong point for this team. When you look at the offense, that's really where all the offensive woes, the issues, the penalties, all those things that we're talking about have come up. But today, the penalties came up on the defensive side of the ball, and the special teams absolutely had their issues today, which led to game-breaking plays that resulted in a loss.
Curran, how much does that have to?
It's not frequent.
How much does that have to do, Curran, though, with the fact that they are playing a bit up in competition? Because although we said that the Vikings may not, reflect their record of 8-2, now 9-2, I feel like it also has to do with the fact that the Patriots are playing a better team.
I think defensively, they are absolutely stressed in a way that they haven't been in the past. Even though Minnesota had been a team that was allowing pressures, there was barely, aside from Josh Uche's sack, barely a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins. And they're going against unicorn-type players, or one unicorn-type player in Justin Jefferson. So it was a lot for them to deal with. More than anything, though, Ted Johnson, they were dealing with a quarterback who knew what he was looking at. Not Sam Ehlinger, not Zach Wilson 2 times, not Justin Fields even, who ran over and around them but didn't really pick them apart. Kirk Cousins knew where to go with the football.
He did, and I also got to give credit to the offensive staff for the Minnesota Vikings. They had a moving pocket a lot, and they did a ton of bootlegs. Not only bootlegs to the right. I mean, you had Kirk Cousins, who's a right-handed thrower, but a lot of bootlegs to the left, too, that were very, very successful. So they kind of kept the Patriots off balance all night. Those stretch runs and then boots off of the stretch run, some waggles and moving pocket kind of stuff. And I thought that really kind of flummoxed our defensive line. We could not get much pressure. And when the Patriots did send pressure, and they did more than what they typically do, because Kirk Cousins is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL against the blitz, the Vikings made them pay. Kirk Cousins had, if I had to guess, I don't know what the final numbers are, but I think against the blitz, he was excellent. Every time the Patriots blitzed, they did not get home and have success. So I got to give credit to the Vikings coaching staff for having some nice plays against the Patriots blitz and really getting the pocket moving and keeping that pass rush that's been so dominant all year really at bay.
So in a sense, they didn't just have one guy who knew what he was looking at, one quarterback, and Kirk Cousins. They had 2, because I think Kevin O'Connell called a great game. He was composed the entire time, and he knew. I think his experience, not that, he knows what Bill Belichick is going to do, but I think he had a good idea, not only from his time here, but time working with Sean McVay and the Rams. I know how much Belichick respects the Rams system and was in communication with McVay. I think he knows what Belichick likes to do defensively and offensively, and he was prepared for it the entire night.
Even though we all picked the Patriots to win this game, I wonder, because it's not a stunner to me that they end up on the low end of a road game in Minnesota, but are there greater concerns about the defense right now? Or are you just saying, well, they were dealing with a team that could do some things? Matt Cassel, I look at it and say, I need more intel to come back and say this Patriots defense is going to be overmatched against better quarterbacks who know what they're looking at.
I really don't think that's the case. When you look at the defense and the way that they approached it, they went and absolutely shut down a Pro Bowl running back in Delvin Cook. They had a guy that's another all-pro wide receiver that's at historical records only in his 3rd season with Justin Jefferson, who went out and made some plays. But at the end of the day, the defense is not the team that lost this game. It was the special teams. It was situational football. And when I say that, I guess you could point to the fact that the penalties, and it was minute details, and this team is not good enough, and their margin for error is so small right now that if you create those penalties, you extend a drive, you run into the kicker, you do silly stuff like that, that's why they lost this game. The Patriots should have run away with this game with the interception in the first half, the short field with Marcus Chris Jones' return, and then also the way that they started the second half, and then they actually helped the Vikings extend drives in the second half and gave them points. That's the only reason why they lost this game. They should feel terrible about this game, because there's no way they should have walked out of Minnesota tonight with a loss, but they did because of dumb, stupid, fundamental errors that we talk about from day one that resulted in a serious problem tonight for them.